All right, what's going on, everybody? Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. I see you, Jason. All right, just give me 1 second. We're live on Facebook.
Hello.
What's happening, Jason Estes? What's going on from the front line of the apocalypse?
Yeah, it's incredible. 1 second, let me do the share thing real quick, and then we can jump back
Yeah,
in.
I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, I had some tech difficulties.
No worries, it
So I
happened.
need to do. Yeah, man, I've got, I never think about anything before I do these shows. And for the first time ever, in 1,500 shows, I thought, man, I've got the perfect question to start this show with.
Oh,
I feel I feel alignment today. It's always that way with us. So.
I can't wait for the perfect question. This should be quite fun.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much. That was an incredible, incredible birthday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to see the
Uh,
100-year future, and I got to actually start taking things that I learned from the 100-year future and integrating them now. And so I was able to finish something that I didn't think I was ever going to finish in this lifetime. So I'm very happy. I finally got the land for the Center for Expansion. So we get to start breaking ground sometime in May, which is going to be incredible. And the
dude, you're
civil
rocking
engineering
it.
phase now.
So you went 100 years into the future,
Yeah,
and
and it
then
is incredible. All I can tell you is yes. That's how I would describe it. There are no other words other than yes. It's like, oh, oh. But I've
so
got a lot of really good
is
news today
that
as well. So
right on? So is that a projected future as things stand right now? Is that a
sort of.
trajectory
It's kind of like
or
the
like
optimum potential value as if everyone were to play at that role, that level. And so then that template is then laid onto the timeline. And then we are able to
right
then
on?
see and feel and experience it. So what's really cool is on the 26th, that timeline became stable and integrated into this
Right.
reality. So now what happens is everybody has felt kind of like hopeless and lost is starting to get images and energies related to kind of what they're going to be doing with their life. And so this sense
Right
of
on.
purpose is starting to be renewed on the earth. And it's perfect
Yeah.
timing because we have the celestial awakening gift, which is unlocking our true potential as human beings and bringing us into the next stage of evolution. So it's like, okay, well, stack that with potentials and possibilities and purpose, and you've got a recipe for success. But you got to clear first.
So you answered my question. You answered my question. I
Oh
should
man,
ask
I
the
didn't even get
question
to hear
first.
it. That's just alignment for you, isn't it?
Well, no, yeah, that is alignment. So we'll just add to it. So what I was going to say, what I was going to pose or whatever to open up the show was, there's a lot of people out there, and some of them for 20, 25 years going into the 90s. I've even met some that, had these downloads coming in the 70s, you know, but, yeah, they've been busting their butt, walking in faith, connecting, anchoring, embodying. And yeah, I mean, we can feel the energy. And I haven't been doing this near as long as most of these people, but you can feel the energy. Something's going on. It sounds like with what you just described, there's new short term, or I don't know how you want to put it, 100 years in the future,
Well, it's actually quite
information that's
long term.
available. Yeah, well, long term, but I mean, something that's available right now that we can invoke right now that we can connect with. It's available to be, aligned with. But anyway, what do you have to say to these people that are kind of sitting on the edge of the chair? They can feel it. There's still the I don't know if it would be the timeline jumping in between the 3D and the 5D, but you still have the 3D things happening. There's still that little
Mm-hmm.
battle with, it doesn't seem as strong, but with survival and security and all that stuff. But it looks like something's happening. It's just happening in a weird way. I don't know. But so anyway, Kind of
It's
answered
happening in
that.
an
You kind of answered.
unexpected way. I will say that. But it's not really an unexpected way if you think about it. So, first of all, kind of take a moment and let's step back and look at the Earth as a whole. Okay. So, the Earth was designed in a dimensional state. That dimensional state had to elevate. So, the rules and the parameters that the Earth held was what we call the Earth game. In order for it to move up to the right octave so that it could then ascend into the next game, it required certain contracts to be fulfilled, certain experiences to be known and understood, right? And so it's not really that surprising that there's still third dimensional stuff inside of humanity. But if you go out and you touch the Earth, it is vibing at a fifth dimensional level or higher, depending on where you're at. Like, it is strong out there. The energy is ridiculous. It's off the charts level of awesome. We, on the other hand, are the lowest link or the weakest link. And I'm saying we as in humanity, right? I'm not saying we as in me and you, though we might be part of that equation. I don't know. It's not up for me to judge, right? But I know that there are things for me to work on. And that's what's important to me. And that's what I'm focused on. I'm not worried about what the world does. In fact, I was actually told not to pay attention to the news or anything until after January 11th, just to keep working on myself and just continue to evolve and expand as best I can, which is why today's topic is inflation versus expansion. So it's going to be a great, great discussion when we get to that point. But as always, I kind of like to give people an update of, hey, what's going on? Why do I feel this way? I feel like I've just been vomiting for the last 3 days. Well, that's good. All of those sensations that you're feeling is your body responding to the current that is running through us. And that current is pushing on your body saying, hey, this isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't true. And your body goes, oh, it's not true? Let me evacuate it. And the quickest way is through diarrhea and vomiting. That's like literally the quickest way. It doesn't have to be that way. If you hydrate, you can, go through the other elimination processes. But for a lot of people, there's so much things that are untrue in their body. Because remember, your body is a composite of identities from your entire lineage history. So this doesn't even really relate to you as a person. You could be the perfect example of humanity, and you still have stuff related to your lineage inside of you. And this light is helping to clean that completely. So I don't care how great your life has been or what you've done. No one is immune, because our lineage was created in an older time, in a different paradigm, in a different energy, in a different current. And so as this light sweeps through us, it's cleaning us of that old and outdated stuff. And that's going to take a while. The Earth is not going to calm down. Everybody keeps saying, when is it going to calm down? When's it going to go? It's not. Let go of the false belief structures and allow yourself to float with the current, because it isn't going away. It actually just goes up, 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 up. The good news is the influxes, which is where it just hits you really fast, those things are starting to settle down. We have another major one on the 2nd of November. But other than that, they start getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower until January. But the very end of December to January is like, it's worse than October. The good news is, by the time that you get there...
Wait, repeat that. When was that? End of December?
The end of December into January is worse than October was. But in extremes. Now, here's what's important, though, and I really want people to hear this. It only affects you if you're still holding on to untruths, if your body is still deprogramming, right? And here's the really great news. If you've been going through this and you're one of those people that's vomiting and you have diarrhea and you're getting migraines, you're all this stuff, that means your body is shifting. And so when this next wave comes in the end of December, it's not really going to affect you as strongly as it has already. You see, those of us who came to the ascension line early to become examples are almost done with our process. We actually finish our process in the end of November, and then December is our rest month to prepare for all the new people, because we're getting about 6.8 billion new people into our timeline in January.
Wow.
6.8 billion. So yes, there's going to be a lot of work to be done. And here's what's really important to be aware of. When you have a fish aquarium that has roughly about 380 million people in it, and all of their stuff is just floating around and they're being worked on, and people are automatically keeping it clean and everything. And we've gotten to a pretty good level. Like collectively, we are rocking it out. The Ascension Line people, you guys are holding it down. We are doing it really well, getting it through one cycle at a time. Now you add 6.8 billion new energies into that and dynamics. And all of a sudden, the fish aquarium looks dirty again. But here's the cool part. You have a field around you that's so strong that it doesn't affect you. You just witness it and go, oh, okay, that's what that is. And I solved that 10 years ago, so here's the solution to that. And then you become an example of that. And so instead of that affecting you and holding you down and holding you back, you actually become an example of how to solve it to that individual who's now been added to the collective. So a spontaneous awakening occurs for all that is resolved. So those 6.8 billion people, they have it easy in comparison, but they don't actually, because their bodies still have to process the ridiculously high level of light on the Ascension Line versus the transit line. So this is where it gets really interesting.
So let me ask you this real quick. So really the main daily discipline for these people that we're talking about that I led off with, which is everybody here, has been to be consciously aware of yourself, to continue expanding your awareness, and really you can call it shadow work or inner work, but just staying on your stuff and keeping your stuff clean energetically as it comes into your awareness. So you're basically saying this is still the best thing you can do. Hydrate. There's other things you can do, but I mean,
I would say that's going to be the best thing to do for life. But for the foreseeable future, keep working on yourself and stay hydrated. Yeah. Those are like the two most important things you will ever do in your life. So don't stop. The good news is, as you all noticed already, you can work through stuff like this. Imagine being able to work through stuff like that, but billions of years worth of information from your past lives. Imagine having access and awareness to all that you've ever been and beginning to resolve it. I was actually going to recommend a movie for the month. And then I was like, oh, humanity's not quite ready for it. But everyone who's watching, you're ready for this. Go watch The Fountain. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, I don't care. Go watch The Fountain. You will learn so much about what's to come and the level that you're going to process at. Everyone else, whenever I do my update like I do every month, it's going to be The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is a great movie and amazing codes, just not The Fountain. But if you guys want to go a little bit ahead of the story and kind of get ready for December, watch The Fountain. That being said, the ability to process.
Go ahead. Did you say imagine processing with billions of years of information? I mean, so does that mean all the memories coming back in? What does that mean?
For those that are clear enough, yeah. So what we've been doing for this year is we've been living 2020, but with training wheels. So we were living in the current. The Ascension Line has been living in the current of 2020, processing it as if they were in 2020. So everything that we have gone through is what 2020 brings again, but with no training wheels. So you take everything you learned this year and apply it, because next year can be the greatest year of your life if you let it. Or it can be miserable if you choose not to learn anything this year. But I don't know anyone that I know personally, or actually that I've ever talked to, that didn't learn something this year. If you didn't learn anything this year, I don't know how you made it alive.
I think they're not going to be in that 6.8 billion.
No, I think they probably got killed somewhere along the way. If you didn't learn anything this year, that would be really hard, because this has been a pure year of enlightenment. It's the year of transformation. It's the practice year for 2020. And so what that does, when you clear something, and this is really important for everyone to understand, you make room, right? And this is what we call expansion. So this segues perfectly into what I was going to talk about. Inflation versus expansion. Inflation is when someone else pumps you up. They make you feel good. They help you do some form of clearing. Let's say you go get a Reiki treatment and all of a sudden for like 3 days, you're on top of the world. That's called inflated, right? Someone else used their value and their ability to inflate you, to show you something that's possible. And there's value to inflation. if I have a ridge around me that I don't know about and I'm inflated into that ridge, then I can see something I usually couldn't see. But when you're inflated, you're not in a home state. And what happens when you're inflated versus expanded is the world pops you. It finds you, and it will just sit there and poke at that balloon until it pops. Because inflation isn't a natural state of being, but expansion is. So what's the difference between inflation and expansion? Expansion is a natural occurring thing that happens when you resolve something or become aware. So if I gain understanding in some subject, doesn't matter what subject it is, I expand a little bit. And because there's a concept that's my favorite concept in the world, it's called similarities and intricacies. If I expand in something, I expand in all things. Because something is part of all things. And all things is part of something. And so the similarities of that something highlights new awareness in everything. So you see,
it's a parallel.
Exactly. The key to life is really to expand and not to inflate. If you're going to inflate, meaning use drugs or do something for spiritual value, taking anything that is outside of you into you to expand, just call it the right term, inflation. You're inflating yourself, which means you're going to be popped. You're not playing at the level that you're designed to play, and so you're missing out on opportunities that are designed for you. Now, is that a bad thing? No. But if you are aware of it and you inflate to that level and go, okay, now I know what's possible, and then you bring yourself back down, you deflate yourself, and then you go, okay, what did I learn in that process of moving back and forth? Now you're learning to expand. And that level that you were inflated to, now you can expand to naturally. So you see, when I say slow and steady wins the race, I'm talking about the real game. Because anyone can inflate themselves to be something they're not. Anyone can. And you can pull it off for a few weeks, a few months, a few years maybe, not anymore, but you used to be able to. Now, starting in 2020, if you're inflated, just be ready, because the entire world is going to seek you out to pop you. But if you're expanded, the entire world is going to seek you out to reward you, because you have room to receive something so that you can expand more until eventually you're so expanded that your level of clarity and understanding is affecting and influencing others around you, so that their effect and influence expands, and their effect and influence expands until all are free and each are freeing each other. You see, expansion is the only way to get that. Because if you inflate yourself, it's not natural. And then the moment that you try to teach from that inflated value, you're inflating someone else, they're inflating someone else, and this illusion of spirituality is born. But you see, that illusion of spirituality has started to deflate. It's become weaker and weaker and weaker, not stronger. And now we're at a point where we're strong enough to know the difference. And it doesn't work anymore for us. And so for a lot of those old timers, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, if you're expanding,
the truth is the truth.
It's going to be like, yeah, if you're expanding, it's going to be like walking in 12D, or whatever. But if you're not, if you're inflating, it's going to be like a bad zombie movie. Those movies they have coming out where everybody, yeah, that's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple when you understand it as you understand it. But if you look at the illusion of spirituality, which is what most people subscribe to for years, it still helped. And this is what I really want people to understand, because I've seen so many people bashing the technologies of the past. But that inflation was greater than anything that was available. Expansion wasn't a principle back then. They inflated to understand, and then they came back, and the world did deflate them, but it was very slow. But they still learned in that process of inflation, right? And now we just don't need the inflation anymore. We can self-source our own expansion into something greater than we could ever do before. So this is the greatest gift ever. So when you find yourself on the toilet, just remember, this is the greatest gift ever, because you're deflating the illusion and making room for the truth.
That's awesome.
I can't stress that enough.
Now my upset stomach all day. doesn't feel so bad.
Exactly. Or your migraine headache, or your nausea, or your dizziness, or vertigo, or all those wonderful ascension symptoms that people are getting to experience constantly this year. That's you acknowledging at a body level that there's something that isn't true, and your antenna is becoming fine-tuned. It's cleaning out that misalignment so that you can be the example that you swore you would be before you incarnated. I've had so many people saying, can I opt out? No, you're part of a greater game. You chose at a soul level before you even came here to be part of this time, and you gave yourself billions of lifetimes of preparation and integrity work so that you could hold true to the course while you were here. Because you knew this was the most chaotic game there was in the universe, and you were ready to play it, but you wanted to prepare. So everything that's happening right now, the reason you're not dead and you can still hear me, is because you have done the work to handle this. And the people that are coming over in January, they haven't, which is why you're here, to help them do the work. But you don't do it in the old outdated way of inflating. No, you do it by being present, by being that example of expansion so strongly that people just have to be in your field or hear of your name, and immediately they remember things about themselves that they had forgotten. They remember that they are capable and strong and awesome. I've said this a few times. Question. Go ahead.
Let me ask you. Okay, so it sounds like one comment, one question. It sounds like that the shadow work is essential. We all know that. And I love the comment you made about the shadow work in water. But it's almost like our senses, this group that you're talking to, our senses are keen enough now that shadow work is almost like a maintenance, like a presence, like you're talking about, mm-hmm. but a moment by moment maintenance. You know, this is what I'm seeing. Oh, I just projected, or I had a thought of projection, or whatever the case is, and you stay on your game. My question is, when January comes, are these folks coming in the 6 point whatever billion coming in? Are they going to be at the point where they're going to have a great use for shadow work tools and modalities? Or are they going to be at a point closer to where we're at in terms of like being on your game moment by moment and being present?
So that's where the challenge comes in, because you can't say as a generalized statement 6.8 billion are all going to be at the same level. There are a ton in that 6.8 billion who are at levels where we are or greater that are trying to help those people out while we prepared this over here. So we split ourselves down the middle and said, okay, by the way, this group, I'm ready to help out on getting these people ready for you guys over here so that we can all join together as one for the first time since the fall of Atlantis. And that is a huge statement, and it is an amazing statement, and I cannot wait to see one world, one humanity. I can't. It's going to be mind-blowing to me to be alive during that time and just to know that that's what's happening. I can tell you that 6.8 billion has agreed over the next 10 years to be at where we are today. So are they going to be there right away? No. The baseline is actually going to be around fourth dimension taking responsibility. But fifth dimensional understanding, having that level of clarity and enlightenment, understanding and discernment, probably going to go into victim a lot over here, to be honest with you. But that's okay, because victim is them acknowledging something outside of themselves has power over them, and it's a step in the right direction, right? They're not going to feel disempowered in the sense of victim, but more, oh, I can clearly see where things aren't right. That's the kind of level of clarity I see those 6.8 billion coming in with, is I can see that things aren't right, which is a huge step because that's self-awareness. And that's the first step anyway. That's what we all started. Something's not right here. Yeah. What is it? Yeah. How can I better this? The difference is the work that we did that took us years and years will take them days. So they'll catch up to us quite fast. I would say 3 to 4 years from now, we're all going to be pretty much running about the same level. There will be examples that will continue to elevate and grow. But for the most part, the baseline is going to be elevating so fast that it's just going to knock our socks off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't underestimate the energy.
I don't
We've
underestimate it
underestimated it
either.
before. It could
It's
happen in 3 or 4 weeks. I mean,
exactly.
if I mean, first of all, that awareness, awareness 20 years ago or 10 years ago, a person might have been like an island.
Yep.
I mean, so many people that come on the show talk about, man, I hadn't no one to hang around with or talk to for years. But yeah, so I mean, if they're aware, I guess the collective consciousness of awareness, that morphic field is going to be, well, it's much bigger and getting bigger and bigger and bigger exponentially. They could learn at warp speed. I mean, some of these techniques, processes, modalities that energy practitioners have could literally assist someone or show someone how to do it for themselves and instantly transform energy in ways we've never seen. So 2020 could just be like, it could
Well,
look like a
that's
science
why
fiction
2020
movie
is
by
the
any means.
year that everything changes, is because humanity is on the same page, and the page is fifth dimensional ascension. You see, that's
Yeah.
never happened before other than Atlantis, and the only reason that it didn't pass in Atlantis was because of the inflated value of the fifth dimension. They were trying to understand Lemuria's understanding of the fifth dimension instead of trying to understand their own. They used the
Yeah.
example and then began to try to embody something that wasn't them, which led to the chaos and confusion and the whole problem that we had. So
Yeah.
we don't have that anymore. People aren't trying to be other people because, well, they are actually for now, but when they try to be other people, they're immediately popped, right? And so it's kind of like, okay, no, that's not working. Oh, that's not working. Okay, that's not working. Eventually they're going to be like, this isn't working. What can I do here? That's the beauty of where we are. You can't get away with the way that it was. And also, something that Atlantis didn't have is a template reality where it was successful. Atlantis was
Yeah.
pioneering something that had never been done. We have already pioneered what has never been done. So we already have a step-by-step progress guide of how to get there for the next 100 years. So we're good. All we have to do is follow our path. And guess what? All those who are watching right now, you guys are amazing pioneers. You know how to follow your path. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Take accountability step by step, learn as you go, right? Not hard. Well, the path in front of you is set, it's laid out. All you have to do is just follow it. And that's really easy because it's your path. You designed it as the highest version of you, and it's perfect for you. So you're going to love your path. It's amazing. You're going to be rewarded for all the work you did. That's true, but don't be entitled to it. The work you did was because you wanted to do the work to help humanity. If you did it for any other reason, you're not going to be rewarded for that because you did it for something else. You didn't do it for yourself. And those of you who did the work for yourself, you're going to be rewarded. Those of you who didn't, you're going to be deflated. But here's the cool part. The moment you start expanding and doing the work for yourself, you're going to be rewarded too. The world as we know it is going to be changed drastically. They're already terraforming the planet, changing the atmosphere. The subspacing is coming back online. A lot of the memory that has been removed from
What's the subspacing? What's that?
So if you look at under an electron microscope, the particle and the particle, there's an infinite space between, right? Molecule and molecule, right? Infinite space.
Right, right.
That's not actually true. So when the universe unwove from the multiverse, all of those intricacies that once existed were removed. That came with it. That's where the letting go, the forgetting came from, is it dissolved it. Well, it didn't actually dissolve it. It just came out of phase. But you see, when subspace integrates into a new phase, all the things that were missing are right there. They weren't missing ever because time is an illusion. This is where it gets really complicated. And I could probably spend 10 shows just explaining time. But I will say that space-to-space understanding is not real. And that's how we perceive time, space to space, right?
So another way to put it is what seemingly wasn't there is back.
It's coming back. Yeah.
It's coming
back. And
back.
that's the terraforming of it.
And I would think that that's carrying code, energy, wisdom, knowledge, however you want to describe it, and it's available in the field as we open up. The more we open up, the more available we are too. Okay.
But it's not just that you have to open up, it's making room, right? So it's kind of like if you have a giant closet full of stuff and you buy something brand new and you try to stuff it in there, it's going to break that thing that you have new. Well, this stuff really believes in itself and is very strong and very capable, and it won't let you stuff it in a closet full of outdated things.
Right, right.
So in other words, you grab onto this thing and you're like, yeah, I'm ready for you. And then all the outdated things start dissolving and turning into gunk inside your stomach, and then you get sick. But then this thing fits perfectly, better than all those things ever did. And that's how I describe it. Every time that you reach out for the next level, everything that's outdated is going to flush out like that. And it's going to be a little awkward at first for your body, because your body was built in a second dimensional paradigm and is now moving to a fifth dimensional paradigm. There are so many things that are outdated inside your body, unless you're a kid being born today or yesterday. If you're a kid being born today or yesterday, you have the new template. Congratulations. Thank you for coming to the earth. You probably won't see this video ever because you won't need to, but thank you for coming to the earth, because you're bringing an example of what's next for humanity. And we're learning from it. Every baby that is inceptionized. Every time that some couple comes together and creates a child, it waves through the collective and more awareness is given.
Yeah. And man, this is moving fast. But so really, I mean, now you're talking about the physical body. I'm assuming energetically, when we work on ourselves, when we clear to make space in that closet, right? I mean, that's going to positively affect our physical body, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
With more and more influence as time goes on, including what we might consider was a miracle, a month ago,
Yeah,
2 months ago.
I've actually seen miracle healings already, so it's definitely very possible. You see, there's two things to be aware of. You have the human body, which is composites, labels, identities, all these precepts, things that are inside of us that are related to all of these other things that aren't necessarily us. Then you have the energy field. The energy field is us. But as we live our lives, those things that aren't us are reflected into our energy field, and then external forces enforce that is us until we begin to believe at a spiritual level that we are us. But here's a really fun fact. You are not your body. You aren't. So the moment that you begin to identify that you are your body, which if I were to talk to the average human being right now and ask them, are you your body? They'd be like, yeah, of course. I mean, this is all I am. That's the average human being right now. If I were to ask that same question a year from now, they'd be like, no, why would I think that? And they wouldn't even know that they would have thought that a year ago. So the problem is that we have created a shell around us of an identity that isn't true. And so that's where we make room. But we also still have to fix the source. Our body is what created the illusion that was reinforced by others, right? And so this outdated value inside of us has to change at the core for us to change it externally, for then the world to see us for what we are. And that process isn't going to happen overnight. It can happen overnight, but for humanity as a baseline, I don't see it happening overnight. I see it taking a little bit of time.
So like the biology of that, I mean, is what you're describing, is that the transition from carbon-based body to light body?
Sort of. There's a step in between there. It's called crystallized carbon. But yeah, that's basically what the trees are going to be representing once the subspacing is complete. So here's the other part to this. The energy waves, the influxes, they're not happening inside you, right? They're happening outside of you, pushing against your field, pushing against the illusion of who you think you are. That's why you're getting sick. Imagine that your field is an actual solid bubble around you, and they're picking up your bubble and they're shaking you, wake up, wake up. And what's happening is you're getting dizzy, you're getting nauseous because you're on a ride that's going like this because it's pushing against all these things that aren't true. And then you inside your body are getting shaken up and you're getting whiplash and you're feeling all these things, and that's okay. But when this here becomes truth, this is what will happen. The energy will reach into you, find the part that's not true, and it'll just dissolve. Because the energy is so strong that anything in your body can literally dissolve like that. So any sickness, any misunderstanding, any lie that you've ever told yourself that's in your body, also known as your lineage history, right? Because it's outdated. The moment your field is clear, it can reach in and clear it instantly. So if you are being shaken up by the influxes, if you are being shaken up by these things, it's because there's something in your mental plane, your field, that is saying something is true that isn't true. And if you're feeling it in your body, ask yourself if it's your body that's saying something's untrue or your field. It's a really simple question. But if it's your field, you can let that go immediately. If it's your body, just tap that area out. Allow the energy to help you let it go. It doesn't take much anymore to go through what would take years before. But we have to work with the energies. We can't work against them. I've seen so many people try to work against them. It's really cute. They're like on the ascension line. They're like, yeah, I'm awesome. Ah! And then the energy hits them and they go and they crawl off into the transit line. They're like, oh, I can breathe again. There are no influxes here. And then they try to come back and the door's locked for them because they ran away from that thing. And they're stuck there until they can figure out how to heal. And while it might be an attractive thing to opt out, to run away, to go hide in the transit line's dissolving. You're going to have to come here eventually. So if you're already here, be grateful that you're here and know that when you cleared out all these illusions, all these misunderstandings, it's going to be amazing. It's cloud-like. You feel like you're floating in nothingness. You have no thought, and you have all the possibilities and potentials, as well as the awareness of the infinite nature of your being to help guide you. I mean, what better world?
Right. With this energy being what it is right now, what you're describing and what's coming, it sounds to me like anybody that would like to fast track by their conscious presence and awareness, the energy's there to support that. Would that be a true statement, do you think?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, nothing is ever done to you, only for you. So all of these currents, all of these things that are shaking you up, the only reason that they can shake you up is because there's something to be shaken up. The same thing with any triggers. When someone says something negative about you in your mind and you go, oh, how dare they? If you're responding to their trigger, there's a reason, right? They simply gave you a suggestion or an idea or an influence, and then you took it personal. Well, if you take it personal, it's pushing against something.
Yeah.
So instead of shaming and blaming the external forces that are trying to help you, just be like, oh, cool, thanks. And they'll be like, wait, what? And then you can work on yourself. And they will either go away or you will go away because you're like, actually, I don't need that reflection anymore. Thank you so much for it, though. Goodbye. This journey.
And a lot of being quiet. A lot of being quiet. And just keeping it all here.
Yeah, because if you can just be yourself, again, and I said this before at the very beginning, inflation needs to teach others so that it can be validated, so that it can continue. It needs it. It has to. It has to have someone constantly value it. Truth doesn't need value. It's already the most valuable thing there is. So if you're sitting in truth, you don't need to say anything. It just is. And I've said this before, but the truth can never be spoken, only heard in the silence. So there's a really good hint for you, humanity. If the truth can never be spoken, only heard in the silence, then this whole discussion that we're having here is my truth, and it's personal to me, meaning my awareness of the truth, and Todd's awareness of the truth. Neither of us are telling the absolute truth because we can't, because we're talking. But if you tap into our field, there's a whole different equation there, because energy can never lie.
So it sounds like inflation is basically, another description might be engaging egoic shadowed frequencies, like almost like codependent frequency.
Well, it is. Inflation is codependency.
To your point earlier, it was a part of our lives, especially if you're doing shadow work, because like you were saying, you could inflate and then deflate, and basically go into some self-introspection. You could learn from it, but now the energies are what they are. We don't even have to play that game anymore.
Yeah, because again, you were inflating right, to touch this wall to find out what it was. Well, now the energy is touching that wall for you, and it's got its hand on it, and it's not letting go. It's just like, hey, hey, hey. And then it just starts picking you up and shaking you and going, hey, hey, until eventually you either get shaken to death or you resolve it. And personally, I like resolving it. The shaken to death thing just doesn't seem appealing to me. There's a lot of ways to leave this planet, and being shaken to death just doesn't seem like one of them that I want.
No. We've come this far. We might as well stick it out now.
Exactly. That's how I look at it. Every time something is given to me to work on, I'm like, cool. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, I can't solve this right now. That's fine. I'm going to still look at it until I can. Let me go into some inner work and do some silence and meditate for a bit. Oh, wait, there's the answer. The cool part is the moment that you're shaken and you go, oh, this is for me to work on, they stop shaking you. They go, okay, cool, you know. And then they sit back and they just wait for you to resolve it. Now, if you go, oh, you know, whatever, it wasn't that important anyway, they grab back on and they start shaking again. So, you know, as soon as you're aware, just let it go. It really is that simple now.
Yeah. And that can keep you in the present too. I mean, it sounds like we're not going to have a choice, but I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, because I mean, well, you know, I can just look at my own journey and I go, okay, well, I was unconscious, you know, especially particularly shadows, deep shadows, that type of thing. And then you go further and you start to become better at, you know, not projecting, but it's still going on in here.
Yeah.
But now, like with what you're describing, I'm not at the point where I say, oh, that's a gift. I'm at the point where, wait a minute, you know, what's going on? You know, what's in it for me? And then, you know, I work it out a little bit and then I start to feel a little better. So I'll be happy when I can start welcoming each and every one of these things.
The good news is you're acknowledging it, which is the most important step. If you can at least say, wait, there's something here, you don't even have to say it's a gift yet. Just as long as you can say, I'm being shaken for a reason, right? That's all it takes. There's something going on in my life and I don't know what it is, but there is something going on in my life. That's a huge step, because you're not in victim right then. You're going, something in my life is off. Cool. Now I can actually go in and find it.
Metaphor. I like that metaphor, shaking.
It is shaking you.
That's a good. Yeah,
if you look at the current that's heading the earth, it's doing this. And in fluxes, this is what it does. It doesn't actually go straight down and chill and go like this. No, it's straight up doing this so fast that it's vibrating into your molecules and causing a change, right? So it is literally shaking you.
It's like a cosmic police
taser. Say again?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a cosmic police taser.
Yeah.
That's why I'm shaking so bad.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is it's happening for you.
Yeah.
And you can opt out. For anyone that wanted to, that's been asking me this question constantly, you can opt out, but only temporarily. And it's going to be so much worse when you come back. Because, like, okay, right now we're at 67 data points because we're, like, still coming down from the last one. Okay, so when everyone joins the Earth in January, we're at 74. So it's much higher than where we are. So we're like in a boiling pot of water that the temperature is being raised slightly every little bit, right? Nice and gentle in comparison. So you're like, oh, the water's a little warmer, but it's not that bad because your body's acclimated, right? If you're on the transit line, you're coming from somewhere between 34 data points over to 74 data points. So the jump is going to be excruciating at first, and you're going to have an option to just let it go or get crushed doing it. That's why they're giving people 3 days before they shut down the transit line. There will be nowhere to hide after that day. On January 12th,
what is the transit line? It's like
kind of like a container that lets people go over there to calm down and cool down. Like when I go out to the world, I usually go into the transit line just to like decompress and get a sense for where the world is. And then I come back into the ascension line, and then I'm able to kind of see like where the difference is and where they're at. And they are so drastically different that when I go over there, I start to feel weaker and sicker almost immediately. Here, the light sustains us. This light that's coming through is a resource. It is a free resource that allows you to regenerate and restore faster than humanly possible. It allows you to run at an optimum level beyond what you can imagine. But over there, they don't have that resource on that transit line. So people, when they get triggered, they end up in that transit line to solve it. It doesn't work because they're triggered here and then they go hide over here. So when you get shaken, don't hide from it, resolve it. But if you decided to hide, that's cool too. There's nothing wrong with it. No need to be ashamed of it or anything like that. Just be prepared for a reckoning come January. Because those who are in the transit line, that door closes on the 12th. It's closed. It's sealed. There's no way back. You're in one world and you've only got this world to do it. So you can't run from your experiences anymore. Those who are doing drugs that are trying to escape, that are drinking alcohol trying to escape, I'm not saying doing drugs or drinking alcohol. I'm saying to escape, to numb. You guys are moving over to the transit line. There is no descent line anymore. That game's over. So when you try to do it to escape again, overdose. Super levels of addiction that require a whole nother spiral, a whole nother path. Be aware that the game that you played then does not transmute or work in 2020. It just doesn't. You either are truth and are willing to work towards it, or you're gone. And that's it. There is no in between. But for now, there is.
What's gone? What's gone mean? Like,
that one is something I'm
gone?
still trying to understand. From what I get is that the molecules are going to be so different that as you start to put things in that aren't true into your body, it's going to start to develop cancer and other sicknesses extremely fast. It might even be a new epidemic that comes out. But the body will die very, very fast when not using the proper resources. You will burn through resources so fast trying to hold an illusion that it will literally make you sick.
Yeah. But at the same time, that same, that space that's been created, which has, and it's no longer on the table, brings in new energy. And part of that new energy is we may see a lot of that, but we may also see a lot of, like you said earlier, miraculous
Miracles.
Healings based on today's understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, spontaneous healing
really,
is definitely a thing. De-aging is another thing. When our DNA is running at its proper level and it doesn't have the illusions and confusions deep inside of it from all the other template realities from different dimensions, we're going to be seeing humanity able to do things that we can't even conceptualize. Modern science will be like, this is impossible. And then they're going to grow up and they'll eventually be able to prove why it's possible. But that's neither here nor there. We don't really care about them because science isn't what's going to define the world in the future. Spirituality is. It is.
Yeah.
And we have already. Like, if you look at most of the high-level spiritual people who have been doing the predictions, science is like, oh, actually, you're right. This is an actual thing. Quantum mechanics is a perfect example, right? Science is catching up to what we've known all along. But what we've known all along has gone exponentially faster than science can. So we're going to outgrow science. Does that mean that science isn't going to exist? No, science will always exist. It's a positive thing. Atlantis had science. It's just going to be a very different look towards science. We're going to know answers and be more intuitive, so we won't need to have things to do it. We'll just be like, this works, it works, good, done. And that's a society I'm waiting for. I really can't wait to see the world when people just go, oh, this works. That's all you need to know. Because knowing that something works is enough. Knowing how it works just causes you to go spiraling.
Yeah, another thing about 2020 that would seem like would make sense to me is there'll be a lot less talking. And the talking that will occur is just going to be direct and straight up and, to the point, none of this other stuff, because that's, a physical representation that, small talk or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's a physical representation of that energy that's being removed.
Yeah.
That you're talking.
What you're talking about is wasting other people's time. When we waste other people's time for a codependent pattern or something where we're basically pulling at something to be validated, we're going to see a lot of that falling away. I think that Hollywood is going to be very fun to watch over these next few months. You know what I mean? Because as Hollywood starts to face all this push on the illusionary understandings, it's going to be very interesting. Because what does Hollywood get paid to do? pretend to be something that it's not. And a lot of people get lost in that pretending to be something that they're not. So my prediction is that Hollywood is going to go through a nice little purge, and a lot of things are going to be really wonderfully shown to them. I don't think that movies and TV shows are bad. I actually love them. But when people lose themselves in the role or take on the sub-personality of the role and then try to continue their life and they can't separate the realities, I don't think that's good. I think that there's an issue there. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're going to be seeing some of the best movies of our lives. We already are. I mean, if you watch the movies that are coming out now and the TV shows that are coming out now, it's just like just incredible insights and clarity. I was watching Mr. Robot, and they laid out the entire plan from the Illuminati from the 80s to now in a 3-minute thing showing the actual people and all of the truth of it. And it was in a TV show that's on the USA Network. Mainstream TV show. That just blew my mind. Back in the day, 20 years ago, you would have been killed to even mention that.
Yeah.
And it was just straight up, here's everything.
It sounds like, they've been doing stuff like that on Cartoon Network for years. But to your point, though, it seems like it's going to be more substance, or substance over production. Like
real truth. Yeah. Right now, it's like they cater to us instead of share wisdom with us. And I feel like Hollywood's going to go through a shift where instead of catering to us, it's going to be sharing their passion with us. I know a lot of people in Hollywood right now that are already making that change inside of them. Mm. Yes, Glass is amazing. The process of learning
Glass,
VR,
the movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's incredible. Incredible movie. But if you're going to watch it, watch Unbreakable first. And I can't remember the other one about split personalities. I think it's called Split, actually. Those are both really great, but you have to watch them before if you watch Glass, because otherwise you'll be watching Glass going, who are these characters? And it really is nice to have the backstory. Yeah, Split, exactly. So
I think we saw Split.
Split's incredible. So is Unbreakable. Those are incredible movies. And Glass is phenomenal. The movies that are coming out, though, they're just incredible. Incredible movies constantly. And back in the day, there were good movies, but they were like gems, right? And another really fun thing is, the new Avatar comes out in 2020. I don't know what it's about. I haven't seen any previews for it. But the first Avatar changed the world. It caused humanity to think about things that it didn't think about before. So this one, I feel like, is a reward for us doing the work. So it's kind of like, this one's like, hey, wake up. And this one's like, you're awake now. Here's the next level. I haven't seen it. Don't know anything about it. But that's how I feel. So I cannot wait for the next Avatar. I feel like that's the trend that we're on, though. Like the Lego movies. They're life-changingly awesome and so much healing and potential inside of them. Which you wouldn't think, but they're kids' movies. What, so the Lego? Lego, the movie, and Lego Movie 2 are incredible. They break you out of so many programming. It's like if the Matrix went forward one more step. That's where Lego Movie takes you. And it's incredible because these movies break people out. And the more people that break out, the more people that start asking questions inside, not outside, the faster we go. And you were talking about quantum technology. Activation Station is actually almost at 70,000 activations. We're right under 70,000 right now. Probably cross over it next week. The fact that many people all over the world are ready for quantum technology just shows that it's time. That level of download is possible now. I mean, I spent my whole life writing and preparing for this time. So when the 28th came and everything I was promised happened, I was like, yes, it's finally time to build the new world. Let's do this. And
that was
I know a ton of other people who felt the same wake up that day.
Was it 2 days ago?
Exactly. So that's the world we live in.
What was going on 2 days ago?
Megan?
I can't even remember what was happening 2 days ago at this moment.
I get that. That totally makes sense to me.
So I mean, and going back to what we talked, how we opened up the show too. I mean, So really, it sounds to me like, I can just add or subtract to this, with what you're saying. There's been this inflation, uh, well, method that we all are familiar with that served us. We've done our shadow work, or not done it all, but I mean, we've been conscious of it. We've been expanding there. Now the prevalent energies have shifted, or are about to,
They did.
and they're going to support us to be able to continue processing faster and faster and faster with less with more ease and grace. And so that's kind of I don't want to say a holding pattern, because there's miracles popping up every day with this stuff too. It's not all the diarrhea and the vomiting. Although,
Exactly.
there's a
Clarity
lot of
after clarity
cool
after insight after
yeah.
insight. Yep.
And then the things too that people contend with day by day, just you see so many people taking leaps and putting themselves in non-conventional situations and scenarios, following their guidance, which I feel they should be doing, and it works for them, but it's a different kind of math, it's a different language, it's a different type of experience. It's that magic coming in that, I guess what did you say, that's and something's pressing on you, telling you it's not real, or tapping you on the shoulder, telling you it's not real, but it is real, isn't it?
Yeah. So I kind of want to just do one more example. I think that this will drive the point home. The shadow work
All right.
was from here out and pushing against the ridges and trying to understand why we were what we were, right? And we did such a great job that we passed a little further out past our ridges, and we reached out and we connected to our infinite self. And then our infinite self said, hey, okay, you're ready? You ready to come back? Okay, cool, let's do this. And then it started helping us. And so we started doing this. We were inflating, they were pushing. We were inflating, they were pushing, until it came through our field and it hit us, and we were like, whoa, okay, nope, can't ever do what I just did before. That doesn't work. How do I clear this up? And that spark that happened inside of us that ignited us back to the truth began to burn out the dross and the mental image pictures and all the lies and illusions in our field, right? But without that inflation work that we were doing, we would never have inflated past our bubble and began to reach out to our infinite selves.
Right.
But once we did, and enough people did, everything changed. That was in 2008. 2008 was the day, actually, it was it, I can't remember if it was October or November. 2008 was so long ago, but it was somewhere between October and November of 2008 that we crossed the threshold. The spiritual war was over, and we were able to, for the first time ever, not need substances or inflation work in order to reach our infinite selves. Enough people had done the work necessary and connected to their infinite selves that they just were like, I don't need to do this anymore. I can just work on me now as me. And that's what changed the world. So now when we do inflation work, we're actually hurting ourselves because we don't need it anymore. And when you inflate,
Right.
you're actually doing it at the cost of your body. Every single time. Anytime you inflate, you're deflating and inflating, you're hurting your body. You're not strengthening it. It doesn't work like muscles where you like work them. Inflation and deflation weakens it. It stretches it beyond what it should, and then it deflates it, and then there's excess room where other things get in. This is why I have a very dead set stance against drug usage for spirituality or for any form of expansion, because when we put things in to expand faster than we should, we inflate. And when we deflate, there's pockets left over, and stuff gets in those pockets. And then that stuff starts to slowly take us over, which is what addiction is. You've inflated too much and deflated too much, and there's random pockets you don't even know exist where things are now inside telling you, hey, you should do this. You should do this. And it starts out as a whisper. And then you start feeding that whisper, which is called empowering. And so you begin to empower things inside of you that aren't you until you're no longer you, because all your power is them. And that's the definition of addiction.
Which can be, well, from an energetic standpoint, that could be us pulling anything in from the external to
Doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It can be people.
Could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Gurus did it on purpose for a long time.
What's that?
Gurus did it on purpose for a long time. So they would inflate
Yeah.
their followers would then start learning from them, and then they would start feeding that person to continue to inflate them, which again,
Yeah.
for anyone out there, the whole guruship thing actually helped until it didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
But what happened was when that guru ignited that spark, that's when that guru should have stopped pulling from everyone else and started to work within with that spark, expanding it so that all their followers could have an example. But that didn't actually happen. It could have in 2008, but that's why we spent the last 11 years cleaning up the illusions of spirituality so that we could have the point that we have now. Because in 2008, when it was possible, people really liked their power. They liked other people's power. They liked collecting it. They liked to feel bigger than they were. And so it led to an entire illusionary spiritual movement being born from it. And now we're at a point where that doesn't work anymore. The moment that a guru inflates, the universe pops that bubble. And they can't inflate fast enough. So that's only truth works.
That's why, yeah. And it'll be easy to detect from this point forward because the, I don't know, how would you say it? The new type of co-creator will be quiet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like we said earlier, speak very much, very direct, almost like instruct, just this is what I know. Here it is. Boom. See you later. Yeah. It's getting exciting. I'm sitting here talking to you and you're talking about the vibrations of the molecules and all that. And I'm freezing over here. It must be like 25 degrees in this room, but it fit, but it feels like a lot of alignment to me, we have these conversations or people go through activations or whatever it may be. And sometimes it takes a little while to, for your brain to catch up. I mean, Morgan's taught me that. So this is the same thing to me, but I can feel it. And thank you for the update and thank you for what you do. And I encourage everybody to get over to Activation Station and anything else you're working on right now?
Center for Expansion, we're building the first one, which is going to be like an Ascended Masters playground, basically. It's going to be an amusement park for the soul is what we call it. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait till it's done. It's going to take 2.5 years, but it's building, which is what's important. We finally have the land. We finally are putting the pieces together. Other than that, we do have an Instagram. And the reason that I'm going to bring this up is because we do have something called the Clear Camp Initiative 2.0, which is clear commands that you just say out loud. And then as stuff surfaces in your field, you clear it. Because what it's doing is hundreds of people have done this command, so much so that it created a template inside the command. And now when you say it out loud, it shows you what everyone else learned through that command that allows you then to contribute to helping that command become stronger with your awareness so that we can all free each other. And that's the Clear Camp 2.0 initiative. And it's been amazing. We've been doing it. It ends in January. And then we're going to start 3.0, but we have a lot of infrastructure to build first. But that one I would definitely recommend. That's on MTVO Team is our Instagram handle. You'll also find us on YouTube, other things like that. But MTVO Team is what I'm passionate about. Like MTVO is the organization that I help to co-create, and we're a team. There is no leader. We're a council, and we do our best to be examples of leadership for the new world. And we dedicate our lives to that. So there's some pretty awesome stuff there as well. And we're going to be getting more blogs and things like that. It's just, we're starting to get to play with people, which is really fun. It's what I'd hoped to do my whole life. And it's now finally time to actually do it. So pretty happy with that.
That's right. Like we said earlier, we've come this far. Why would we stop now?
Exactly.
I wish you the best. I wish you the best on all that. I have a feeling that you're building your Ascended playground will be done a lot quicker than 2.5 years. I feel like someone on your team is going to discover that pyramid technology where they built that stuff like in 3 days.
Well, I hope so, man.
So you never.
That would be incredible. But the worst case scenario is 2.5 years. Like I can deal with that. You know what I mean? So if it goes sooner, that's awesome. But that's like the worst case scenario. So that's awesome.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I got to get ready for the next show in 23 minutes. We got a special guy coming on, a good friend of Sherilyn's, a guy by the name of Yap. Jason, thanks a lot. Look
Thank
forward to
you.
the next one.
I
Keep
look
doing
forward
what
to
you're
it as
doing,
well.
and
We'll check in again and we'll see what it's like. Maybe in the new year or maybe before the new year. We'll see. It'll be amazing
yeah,
though.
right on. That's
Have a
real
blessed and
cool.
beautiful
See
one.
you
Bye.
later. You
Thank
too,
you.
man. Take care.